Hey, what up? Welcome to the Dope Souls Collective podcast, where dope souls can vibe, connect, heal, and grow because dope souls go through real shit. This podcast was created to nurture, support, and educate survivors and growth-oriented people. And without further ado, I give you your host. She's a transformational life coach, a mental health coach with a master's of psychology. She's also a couples and healthy sexuality coach. And I can't forget to mention she's my dope-ass friend. This is Ramani Malco presenting to you the host and founder of the Dope Souls Collective podcast, the one and only Trisheana Hunter.
So what is up? I have the honor of having my good friend, the incredible, the Yup Man. Yup Man. In fact, I'm pretty sure I'm going to just entitle this episode Yup. With the incredible Paul Mabon, my friend, who I just happen to think is
so
absolutely remarkable.
Well, thank you for the wonderful introduction. How are you?
Well deserved. I'm outstanding. But that introduction is well deserved. I go back with you to when I had the CD, that's still in my collection, right?
Yeah.
And now you're Alan. And
yeah.
You're upsizing. And you're telling the future on music videos.
Yeah, that was me. I did do that.
You did all that. I think the appropriate quotation is, yup. Yeah. Paul did that. He absolutely
did. The more you do, the less you got to say. So
that's true. So starting with that, who do people need to know Paul Mabon is? Who is he?
Who is he? He is me.
Who are you?
I am an actor and poet, originally from Chicago, Illinois, and did some time in Memphis, Tennessee, moved to Chicago again, then moved to Los Angeles and pursued my career starting 2004. And I eventually worked my way up from the grind of surviving in Los Angeles to getting into the Screen Actors Guild, and after that, eventually starting to do co-starring gigs and working. And I lucked up, and things started happening just a mere 12 years later.
Okay. I mean, 12 years is not a drop in the bucket. That's
no, it's not.
Decade of your life.
No, it's not. I was, a lot of people think that, they always say that, all we see is the success, all we see is the finished product, but they don't see the 3 jobs that you had, or the asking loans for rent, or just the sacrifices that you have to make in terms of relationships and things like that. Because, this is a independent contractor career, it's an artist's career. So there's no guarantees. I don't do it because I have to do it, because I do it because I love and want to do it. Yeah. It's not a matter of, if I don't make it big by then I'm going to move back home. There is no home to move back to. So it's just one opportunity begets another. And then you kind of look back at your path, you look back at your path, and you see where you are. Because when stuff like Alan happens, or movies or whatever, when that happens to you, it's just like, oh, okay, this is the new thing that I'm doing. This is the new job. But in retrospect, you couldn't have gotten that new big job unless you did do that poetry reading in Arizona, and you did sell those CDs, and, you did do all of those odd jobs. I did a lot of odd jobs. I sold cupcakes.
Oh, did you make the cupcakes?
I did not make the cupcakes.
Note to self, I need Paul to make me some cupcakes.
I don't make cupcakes. I sling the cakes. I don't sling.
Sling them cupcakes.
Make cupcakes. I sold cupcakes for Crumbs Cupcake Bakery. I was a bar mitzvah DJ and MC I know, right? I was the only chocolate chip in the cookie. And
Well, what exactly does an MC say at a bar mitzvah, though?
Everyone, this is going to be the greatest day in Noah's life. And I'm happy to be a part of it. Please welcome Noah, or whatever their name is. They come in one by one as a family. It's a very fun job because it allows me to use my skills as performance. It's a coming out party for young men and young women of Jewish descent. And it's their introduction into womanhood or manhood. And basically it's a gathering that is a real privilege to be at because people from all over the world fly in for this moment. It's kind of like, I want to say a quinceañera or, a really, really glorified Sweet 16. But in terms of that, it's also religious in the sense that they have a ceremony before inside the not a mosque, but inside the what's it called? Synagogue, inside a synagogue. And then they come and they party. And I was responsible for that party. So I did that. I sold door-to-door vacuums.
Oh,
it was a lot. I did everything. Yep.
I have to apologize to anybody that sees this, and I hope several of you do, because you may not have had the privilege that I have had to see Paul perform poetry, because he is one of the most remarkable, enthusiastic, passionate poets I've ever seen.
Girlfriend, you better stop that.
I can still remember the last time I saw you perform. And you were talking about homelessness in LA and the struggles and the things that were going on. You write from such a passionate place, and your storytelling is so in depth that it's like, yo, I need to go do more. Your poetry and your performance of that poetry is just, it's absolutely remarkable.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
So I'm sorry for all the.
My roots still lie. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm all y'all YouTube it. Hopefully you can find some video.
Oh yeah, that's what I was going to tell you. Speaking of YouTube, I'm responsible for producing a once a year poetry reading called the Pan-African Film Festival Spoken Word and Music Fest. And basically, it's part of the Pan-African Film Festival. And what happens is they do this once a year reading. And I'm in charge of it. So I get to produce it along with 3 friends of mine. We got a group called Diverse Verses. And we made a little video. So I would love to share it with you.
Yeah.
Should I send you the YouTube link?
Definitely send me the YouTube link, and I will tag it in the bottom with all of those things that we need to have in this, because I think I saw it. It was either on your Facebook or on your Instagram. And I was like, yo, I would really like to go do that.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's only like almost 3 minutes long. But what happens is it's an audition for the event. And it's just also a show. And I like to use my creativity in the show. So what happens is the poets come, they audition, but I found that, you know how interactive I am?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so because of that interactivity, I've incorporated audience participation in terms of 2 add-ons. Like, remember when we were at HB's reading, he had the really good rapport with the DJ. Oh God,
was it Tone or
Big Tone?
Big Tone at home baseball.
Back and forth with the music, right? Ooh, I hope I didn't tell him that I stole it from him. But what I did, I said, let me create like a battle, and I said, let's have old school versus new school. So what I did was I took these wrestling belts, and instead of the logo, I put on there old school, and another one said new school. And then what we did was last year we had like we had like somebody from the younger generation and somebody from the older generation, and we pump them up with the belt, talk that stuff. And then I was like, okay. And they play an old school song, and then they cut it, and then they play a new school song, and everybody would sing and dance and stuff like that. It was a lot of fun. And then I also created another one called the Shoe Game, because I noticed that when you go to poetry readings and events like that, there's the step and repeat, but to also make it interactive, people, because people dress up, I said, let's do the shoe game, so it's like, what's your shoe game like? You ever heard that phrase?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
So, I think there was even a phrase at home base for a long time called keep them on. So there was always something about some shoes.
What? Wow. What we did was we had like a competition where we got like 3 medallions. And what happened was they would be first, second, and third. And people get to walk in between the 2 rows of people and walk up and make it up to the stage. And everybody has to see their shoes and their outfit. And then they would just win a little medallion. First prize is a gallon of gas. Second prize is a book of spades. And the third prize is a peach cobbler. So from down the mall, from downstairs. So, just something to be fun and interactive, because it's like what I've learned now in this stage of my career, I more and so enjoy the production side of poetry, providing opportunities for other up and coming poets and people who want to take it further, because I was blessed to be on a couple of poetry shows and be part of like a lot of different shows throughout the country. But it's also good to kind of just give back and use the skills that I have to open doors and expose people to what helped me make me successful. So it's a labor of love.
Now, you kind of talked briefly about some of the things you went through on the road. Mm-hmm. And one of the things about the Dope Soul Collective is really, it's about, dope souls go through real shit. So tell me a little bit about the journey, or maybe elaborate more about the journey that you went through to go from, maybe the starving artist to the Allen we see on the Progressive commercial, and a little bit about that process, some of the sacrifices and adversity that you had to go through to get to where you're at.
Again, it's moving here and battling the idea that the most important thing is to remain here.
You're being LA. Right?
Yeah, I'm talking about LA specifically. It's not about getting here. It's about staying here. It's not about sleeping on people's couches and then, oh my God, I'm famous. It's about really studying your craft, because a lot of people come out here with a great look, mm-hmm. and they may have some success, but in terms of their skill, they don't have any theatrical background or any experience in terms of being on television or movies or production or whatever. It's like any other job. Nobody's going to hire you just because you have a great resume. They have to get to know you. So it takes some time to actually build a resume of footage from different projects. So when I first moved out here, all I had was my Def Poetry Jam performance, and that was my reel. And so with that reel, I had to attract the attention of an agent and eventually start auditioning in front of professional casting directors. But what helped was my experience in theater and growing up performing poetry. It's an asset. I was either the funniest monologue person in the world or a great poet. It doesn't really matter as long as they like you. So I had a 200 square foot apartment that I stayed in for 14 years.
Wow.
And yeah, it was rough. And my rent when I first moved here was $610 a month, utilities included, in 2004.
And that was for the 200 square foot apartment?
That was for the 200 square foot apartment. And I still had to call friends and family and ask for help on the rent. It was the cost of living wasn't that expensive back then, but at the same time, sell that to a person that has the college degree but has no experience of what it
and slinging cupcakes
to survive. Yeah, well, slinging cupcakes without a car. I was here without a car for like 2 years. I literally had to start my entire life over. So yeah, it wasn't rough. It was just what it was. It was what I had to do. You know what I mean? I did poetry while I was here. And that's when I just started getting on all the TV shows, because since you're in Los Angeles, most of them cast here or whatever. So, opportunities come from your consistency of your craft. So if you're a production assistant, if you do one production, chances are somebody's going to ask you to do another one, just like if you're in a great, if you do good in one acting scene, chances are something's going to come from that opportunity. You're going to attract the attention of an agent, or you're going to get another opportunity to be in someone else's project and things like that. So it was definitely rough. It was, but again, it was what I had to do. And when finally the opportunity to play Alan came, it was just another commercial to me. It was go in, read for a role, and go home. And then they said, wait a minute, try this other commercial. And I said, okay. Now, what I didn't know was that they were casting for 3 people to be the crew along with Amy, right? And Flo, right?
Right. Because wasn't it just her for a while?
It was just her. And then she got a sidekick, Jamie, right? Remember that?
No.
Red hair, skinny, short, squirrely guy.
I don't think I remember. And I also, just to not just make sure we don't skip, you had a few like smaller commercials that came before this one.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. That's what I was saying. I thought it was just another commercial.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm talking about progressive is that I couldn't have got progressive if it wasn't for those smaller commercials. Yeah. Because what they do is they say, okay, come on in. And then you go to the audition. I went to the audition and they said, try this other one. And it was like my first commercial with them was this round table where she was introducing members of the crew. Mm-hmm. And I read the line. They were like, okay, good. They'll do it again. I was like, read it in. Okay, great. And the next thing you know, they booked me for the commercial and I'm on set. And my improvisation talents come from poetry, Flo and Jamie and the rest of the crew, they are trained improv actors from like the Groundlings, Oh, wow. So you go to the like Groundling, just like in Chicago, it's Second City. So if you go to Groundlings here, you go to the actual theater, you'll see all their pictures before they were famous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when we were on set, it was my first time meeting them. And I knew my lines. I said my lines. We're sitting at this big round table, said my lines. And then all of a sudden they kept going. And I was just like, did somebody else cut it?
Did we just go improv and nobody told me?
Like, is there another page or something like that? And they were just going on. I was like, oh my God, and what happens is when you're on set, you don't know what Video Village is thinking. Video Village is where the casting director is, the ad agencies, the producers, anybody that has anything to do with the commercial are looking at it on a screen in another location where you can't hear or see them. So that means you can't hear them laugh. You can't hear them smile. You can't hear anything.
Right. You can't see. That's not it. You don't hear nothing. Just
right. But all you're there is with the director telling you what to do. And it's all on your delivery. So afterwards, the guy comes out from the back and says, yeah, we like you. Yeah. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm glad you like me. And I didn't know that.
You're like, oh, that's nice.
well, it's funny because that commercial aired, but my lines got cut.
Oh, interesting.
So I was seen but not heard. And then I realized that just like when I was saying earlier, it's not about what you do, it's how you do it in terms of you have to earn the ability to speak, right? You have to earn the ability just to be there. Then you have to earn the ability to speak. And then you only say like 1 or 2 words. Remember when I first started out, it was just like, can you talk? You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, he said a complete sentence. And then all of a sudden they said my name and I was Alan. And then all of a sudden Alan had this backstory in his life and riding motorcycles and all of this other stuff. So what I learned is that it's just like any other job. Like I said earlier, you have to have experience. And even when I got booked the job, they said, send us all of his older commercials. because they wanted to see who they were getting. You know, did I have the chops to work with Flo? You know, because that was very intimidating. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you have to actually,
because she's pop culture at this point.
Right. Exactly. And you have to have the chemistry to fit in with that pop culture, because they went through like 300 guys before they came to me. That's what they said. So, you know, at that round table, that first commercial, you know, there was a lot of people at the table, but they would shoot it at an angle so that they can chop people off. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So they can get the main people. So there was like all kinds of minorities there. Just, hey, whatever happened to that guy? Yeah, they were cutting people off. It's a trip.
That's not something to shrug at. I think my favorite, and it was a little further in, was the one on the beach. Because, you know, and I think that's probably where the improv comes in, because there was some look that you gave her or something you said that was like, yeah, that's real life. Like, I'm just going to go over here and not be part of this conversation.
The backstories of commercials are so funny. We, like they shoot it in different, like there was these two customers, right? And they were talking about insurance. And they were trying to remember the word bundle. They were like, I wish I could put my home and my car together. You know, yeah, I wish there was a term that and Flo's like, you know, tripping out because we were there just a vacation. And she was like, oh shoot, it's a bundle. You know, I was like, hey, be cool. Remember?
Be cool.
And she couldn't take it, and she got up and she put on an apron. She's like, it's a bundle. It's, you know, hi, I'm Flo, you know, and all this other stuff. But we shot our stuff.
The first one that implied, I mean, just for my works, hey, what's going on between Alan and Flo? Because, you know, your man's always the one to be like, yo, before you snap off, just be cool. Cop a squat.
Well, it's interesting because you have to recognize your role within the lines, because like Flo's the boss,
yeah,
and I'm her friend, right? And it has to be portrayed in a positive way. You know what I mean? It can't be like, you know, look, you better be cool. You know what I mean? You have to see the chemistry in a positive light between all of the characters and sell insurance at the same time. So in other words, we really do have to like each other. So like we, you know, I've gone to her shows and stuff, and we have a group chat and we all talk and stuff like that. So it really helps when you really like the people that you're working with.
I can only imagine, because you guys are hilarious independently. So together, I'm sure it's just off the chain.
Yeah, it's the half the stuff we can't use because, you know, it ends up on the cutting room floor. Like there was one line in that I just started riffing. I was like, I said, be cool, Flo. I said, namaste. We all gonna stay.
Namaste.
I said, we all gonna stay. And it was funny, but it did make the cut. And it was like, you know, Jamie gets up and says she might need backup and runs over to help her. But everybody kind of like contributes in their way, because it actually, I see what they did, because they give the audience a chance to relate to each person's personality that may be similar to theirs. Because if you notice, like Mara, the short one, is the anti-hero, right? She's against everything, you know, reluctantly she comes to work, but she's still great at her job. You know, Flo is funny and perky, and Jamie is quirky and like the hapless, successful successful Ted Lasso of the group. You know what I mean? It's really funny how they do it, because when you get the script nowadays, you know, they just give it to you right off the bat, like when you're on set. Beforehand, you get the script days before. But since you know the character, you kind of try to figure out what your vibe is before you actually say the words, because again, it's the chemistry. Like these new commercials that are coming out, I can't say much about them, but they're going to be out in April, and it's like a whole series with a celebrity involved. So I can't wait till those come out. But it takes a backstory to a whole nother level. Each one of us have backstories, and you're going to see the backstory of one of the characters, and we're all going to be involved. So
can't wait.
I know, April. So.
My birthday, April 15th.
Is it really? April what?
April 15th.
What are you going to do?
I don't know yet. I haven't decided.
Okay.
But yeah, something. Hopefully something that involves water.
I know.
An ocean.
Okay. Why not?
Why not? Now, before there was progressive, you had downsizing.
Yeah, I was in a movie called Downsizing in 2017, and that was supposed to be my big break.
I remember.
Oh my gosh. I was like, this is it. Because I'd never been on the red carpet or anything. And what happened was I auditioned for it and I really, really studied. And the only reason I got it was because I did my research in terms of the director. You know, when I go to the Paramount Studios and you go up these winding stairs, it's very intimidating. So what I did was I watched all his old movies, and I saw in the movies, he had one scene where it was like a marquee and it was the title of another movie that I had saw. And I asked him that question in the audition, and he was like, oh, you know, and you know, after a while, it's like, how many different people can say the same freaking lines? You know, it's like, pick one. But I was the guy who asked him about his work. And I don't know if it was just that or my personality or whatever, but to really be a student of your craft is important, because he called me personally and actually offered me the role. So I even take
he called you personally and offered. Let's not skim over that. He called you personally to offer you the role.
He had my note. You want to hear it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I just happen to have it lying around. So this is what I recorded it on, and I'm about to play it for you now. So imagine you're at your ex-girlfriend's house or boyfriend, and you see there's a voice message because she's had poor reception. And this is what I played back in 2016.
Well, it's Alexander Payne, man. I am calling you from Toronto, Canada, where we're going to be shooting most of Downsizing. But I wanted to call you. I don't know if they told you, but I would love for you to play that part of Roger, the manager, that small part in Downsizing. You'll be with Matt Damon and a lovely actress named Hong Chow. We'll be shooting it at the Grove the week of April 4th. So if you want to call me for any reason, my cell is 41.
Okay.
Right. That's a big deal, man.
Oh my gosh. You couldn't tell me nothing. I mean, I could not believe. I couldn't believe it.
Like, you know, you've kind of glazed over it. And I want the people that are listening here to understand, like, you know, you were one Black guy out of 300. There was a constant studying of your craft. What you mentioned right now even lends to interview skills. Like, you can transfer that over. It doesn't have to be acting. Like, when you go to interview, are you studying what you're going in for? Or are you just walking in the door like, oh, I hope I get a gig? Like, I hope. Well,
it's two auditions. It's two auditions, because what happens is, like I said, anybody can say the words. You know, they basically want to know, if we hire you, are you going to act a fool for 8 hours? You know what I mean? You're literally in a movie. You know, they're hiring your reputation. They see all the stuff you've done. They say, okay, if all these people trusted him, chances are he or she is not going to act a fool on our set.
Yes.
So basically, you have to get to know the person, the director or the casting director first, and then the director, if you make it to the callback. You have to get to know them and earn their trust within those meetings. Now, there's a whole slew of factors that you have no control over, in terms of they might have somebody else in mind for the part. They're really not looking to cast a person that looks like you. They might be trying to fill some sort of quota, or they're not sure what they want. You know, there's so many factors that they have to consider. So the only thing you can do is just be yourself and just be honest about the experience, because they're trained to see if you know who you are. In other words, you're talking to somebody that can potentially influence your career, you know, make your life better in some way. And if they sense any hint of phoniness or desperation, they're not going to hire you. You know, it's like, please give me this job. Oh my God, I really want to work with Matt Damon. Please, you know, and it's not about that. I was taught and trained that it's not about getting the part. It's not about getting something. It's about giving something, giving yourself within that time frame. You know, it's about giving them something that's giving a part of you to them.
Yeah, Paul, one thing you really talked about right now was about being your authentic self.
Mm-hmm.
So what advice can you give? What can you share about being your authentic self? We live in a world right now where I think everybody kind of puts their best foot forward, their filtered version, but how do you really get in touch with your authentic self to give that when you go into a major?
Well, that's the thing. You have to believe that you are enough. You've heard that a million times, right? You are enough. What does that really mean? It's like people that are very successful now, you look at them and you say, oh, wow, they're like that all the time. You know, like you look at the really successful actors. It's like if they were a cop, they would act like that. But when you see them in interviews, they sound like the same person. So it's like, oh, wow. So authentic self for me means the guy that you see in Downsizing or Alan, that's just Paul. And he's not really doing anything. It's just like, well, damn. And then that's what acting is. It's about looking like you're not doing anything. It's just like I'm naturally interactive. I got a sense of humor.
Yes, you do.
You know, I'm not that ugly. And, you know, you add those all together, it should translate into a quality that makes people want to know more about me. So say, for instance, me asking the director about that marquee that had the title of a movie that he hadn't even written yet, that was genuinely me. That's something that I wanted to know. And maybe that was the reason why. But what I did learn was that when I did like a play reading, there was an actor in the play reading. He was like, yeah, I know who you are. And this guy was like famous. He'd done a whole lot of series and stuff. And I'd never met him before. And he was like, yeah, you beat me out for a part. And I was like, what part? He said the Olive Garden manager for the Alexander Payne movie, Downsizing. I said, what? He said, yeah, I was wondering who got the part. And I look up and it's you. And I remembered you from the reading here. And I was like, holy crap. So it wasn't just Black people. It was all kinds of people auditioning for this part, which really did a lot for my confidence because that lets me know that my authentic self was good enough. In other words, I was
Black or white or, you know, any other ethnicity, your authentic self was enough.
You'll never know who walked through those doors and auditioned before or after you. You'll never know if that was the only day, You'll never know if that was the only gender. You know, you'll never know the circumstances of what you're hired for unless they tell you. Just like for that one, I found out that this guy that's way more famous than me didn't get the part. And then for Flow, for Progressive, I found out they auditioned like 300 guys. You know, 300 people. They were looking for, you know, me. And I didn't find that out till like 2 years later. I was like, wow. I brought my mom to set and they told her. I was like, then she told me. I was like, what?
What? How do you know before me?
I don't know.
Paul, in your journey through all of this, starting out, you know, a 200 square foot apartment for $600 a month. What were the times like where you weren't sure you weren't enough, that your authentic self were enough, or, you know, that maybe you didn't know or have the confidence that you were enough? Did you go through anything like that?
No, because I was doing what I love to do, you know, and working those odd jobs and living in an apartment allowed me the opportunity to do it. And every job you get is validation that you should do more, you know, that you can do more. And eventually when you can support yourself and make a living by being that independent contractor, whether it's acting or a small business or whatever, you're going to have to quit your side jobs in order to take that leap of faith, you know? Yeah. So it's like my uncle who passed away. He said, I did Showtime at the Apollo. And right before I decided to move out here, I said, Uncle Hubie, you think I got what it takes to make it in LA? Because I was all packed and ready to go. And he looked at me and he said, I don't know, do you?
Yeah.
I said, well, ooh. I almost said it. And so that let me know that my career was my responsibility.
Yes.
And that I was the only one that determined that I was enough, you know? And it's like, you can't think like that. If you go out here thinking that, you know, if I don't make it by so-and-so, what making it is whatever making it is, you know what I mean? But you have to go about it in a pragmatic way. Well, at least I did. You have to maintain your living. Mm-hmm. You have to, you know, I always say have something to fall back on. You know, I wasn't the type of person to come out here and sleep on somebody's couch. Yeah. A lot of people slept on my couch in the 200 square foot apartment, but that's not for me. You know, I paid my dues without even knowing that I was paying my dues. I didn't have a car for 2 years. I stayed there for 14. If you'd told me you're going to stay in this apartment for 14 years and you're not going to have a car for 2 of them, and forget about a relationship because she's leaving you in 2007. You know, if you told me all of that, I'd have been like, I don't know if I want to do that, you know, but it's not about the destination. It's about the ride, the journey, because along with that, if you'd have said, you're going to be working with this lady, and that was like 10 years ago, you're going to be working with her 10 years from now. And you're going to be financially secure and you're going to have the opportunity to do things you've never done and go places you've never been. You know, you take that in a heartbeat, you know?
Absolutely. So, and a lot of people wouldn't have paid the price of a 200 square foot apartment for 14 years. They'd have switched up. They'd have just switched it up like, maybe I wasn't meant to be an actor.
Well, you know what? It's
how bad do you want it?
It's how bad do you want it? It's how bad do you want it? And, you know, I didn't have, I sacrificed a lot to get to this point, and I'm still not where I want to be.
Yeah.
You know, it's just about waking up and not even thinking that you're working. You know, it's fun for me. And whatever it takes to do that, I'm going to do it.
And you celebrate everything. That's one thing that I really enjoy about you, because you don't make light of, you know, this role or that role. You know, everything is a win.
Oh, hell no. You know how hard it is to get a role, first of all.
But the thing is, like, on the outside, like, somebody's like, that's not some breakout role. That's not this, that. Nah, like, everything is a win. Celebrate it.
Exactly, because you don't know who you can help inspire on their journey. Yeah. And 2, you don't know who can help inspire you on your journey. You know, they just like you're telling me that I did that. That means that what I'm doing is working. I like to celebrate the things that I do, no matter how big or small they are, because it always, it puts positive energy out, and it makes me really appreciate the fact that I'm lucky enough to get to that point. Like, I had like maybe 2 lines in Insecure, but because I promoted it, everybody and their mom was like, "Oh my God, you was on Insecure!" You know? So it's like it just, everything can't be taken for granted, because even for that small role I did in Insecure, I beat out a room full of 30 dudes that look just like me, 30 at least. You know, it was like, oh my God, I am not.
It was like even that horror movie that you that horror movie that you advertised for a while.
Oh, yeah. Oh God.
Not even knowing how it was going to come out. I mean, you promoted it. I was like, okay, I'm about to watch a horror flick, and I don't even watch horror flicks, but
I know it was the greatest thing that never happened in my life.
And then I got a hook. I was like, oh, great.
Well, you know what? It's so funny because Black people do not like horror movies. And then it was like, I felt bad because they cut both of my scenes, and that was supposed to be my big post downsizing break. You know, I was like, oh my God, this movie is bigger than what I thought. This is the same dude that directed Aquaman. Holy crap. You know, I got invited to the cast party and everything. I was like, this is huge. And then they didn't tell me that I didn't make the cut, because they actually made the movie years before COVID, right? And they didn't tell me that I got edited out until They never told me. They actually never told me. They have this website called the Internet Movie Database, IMDb. So they have everybody in the movie's picture.
I never knew what that stood for until today, FYI.
Right. So they have everybody in the movie's picture on it, right? Mm-hmm. Now, if your background or you don't say anything or you're just like in the back giving somebody something, they sometimes give themselves credit and they'll just say uncredited. You know, you're in the movie, but you're not credited because you didn't say anything. It's about saying stuff. Right. Well, all the way up until the day the movie came out on HBO Max, my picture was up on the credited part, you know? Had a name and everything, you know. I was like, all right, everybody in Chicago, everybody be sure at 12 o'clock to watch this movie. And it was like, oh man, Paul, I don't know. I don't watch horror movies, but I'll do it for you.
I'll do it for you.
And then some people was like, I don't care what you're doing. I ain't watching the whole. And then some people were like, oh my God, that's so great. And so I promoted it. Biggest mistake in the world. You never promote something as an actor until, you never promote something as an actor until somebody tells you they see it. Because if you do that and it doesn't air, you look pretty silly. So you look really, really silly. So it came out at 12 o'clock and some friends of mine in Chicago was like, yeah, and I was like, what? I really don't. I was like, don't tell me anything. I'll talk to you tomorrow. And she said, okay. So I was like, that works for me. And the next day, some other friend of mine who was a little bit less curt, she was like, look, I watched that whole damn movie and I ain't see you and the credits. I was like, oh God, no. And I called my other friend back. I was like, did I get cut out? She said, yes, sweetie, you did. I was like, oh my God. So I had to get on Facebook and cry the blues, apologize, and everybody's like, yeah, I'm nothing to be sorry for. That's okay. And I was just like, damn, because that's why you celebrate the little things because, you know, these opportunities, you don't know what could turn into what, and you don't know when you'll get the next one, you know? So. Yeah,
because because downsizing, I wasn't sure where to look for you at. And so I was like, okay, where is he? Where is he? Where is he? I was like, oh, there he is. Bags.
I know. Yep.
But it's the wins. You know, it's those little things that build your reputation. You know, I had Romany Malco on here. That episode just actually aired yesterday. And we were talking about some of the things that go on in Hollywood in terms of reputation and how much your reputation means, how you treat the people on set, how you behave on set. You know, and even some of the segregation in Hollywood between the Black audience and the white audiences and all the things that happen. And there's so much more that goes into it than people will ever realize. They just think, you know, oh, somebody just must got a lucky.
Right. Right. It's no luck involved. He did a great job in that breakout role for 40-Year-Old Virgin. I know he did a bunch of stuff before that, but that was a great breakout role. I think that the more you do it, the more people give you opportunities that fit your personality. And it's like, he looked like he had so much fun in 40-Year-Old Virgin and it wasn't even like work, you know? And he's a brilliant comedic actor and just an actor in general. So, yeah.
So what's next for you?
This Clippers game at 6:30. No.
You stay at a Clippers game with your
family, to go.
Your mom?
They talked me into the package. So I had this package, this 12-game package or whatever. I bought it like an idiot. And then I realized that if you wait till the day of, people who can't go to the game resell their seats and they're way cheaper and way closer than anybody else's. So
game time.
Yeah, I know. And I live right down the street from the damn stadium too. So it's nothing for me to go down there. So long story short, what was my point?
I don't know.
I don't know either. But long story point, I'm a Clippers fan and that's my next project. Yeah, nothing major, just waiting for those new commercials to drop. And I auditioned for a bunch of stuff and you just kind of wait. Hopefully I'll get this big role I auditioned for like a Netflix series. It starts in April, so if they don't call within the next week, I'll know. That's how you know you didn't get the part, when you see somebody else doing it. Hey, that sounds familiar. Oh, damn.
Before we wrap up, what's your dopeness? What's the dopest thing about you?
having friends like you. No, I don't know the dopest thing about me. I'm definitely more open and able to walk in truth more and be more authentic and just being okay. Like my biggest gripe is, really thinking that you're enough. And I think that if you're trying to improve yourself, you don't have to try to be enough. It's like I'm doing things to work on my craft, I'm doing things to work on myself mentally, physically, just so that I could be a better person. And my art comes out pure. My auditions are more pure. I don't have to worry about if I did a good job or not. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Authenticity. So I think that's a big quality that I like about myself.
And if you could leave people with one thing, what would it be?
It's the hardest thing to do and the easiest thing to do. Be yourself. Be yourself. The person that you are behind the cameras or when the cameras are off should be the same person that you are when they're on.
And I'll add to that, get to know who you are and understand that, because so many of us or so many people out there have no clue who that person is. It's okay to spend the time to get to know that person and find that individual. Paul, it's so dope to have you. Make sure that you guys look for, say it for me, it's the Pan-African. Tell me about the poetry thing you're working on one more time. Yeah,
Pan-African Film Festival. It's the Spoken Word Fest. It's in the video link that I sent you, but the website is paff.org. So path.org. And there's all kinds of stuff on Instagram but the video has the auditions. So if you're in LA and you want to be part of a once a year huge show, come on through.
And what are the dates on that?
The dates are, the date of the auditions are Saturday, March 26th from 1 to 5 p.m. Sign up is from 1 to 2 p.m. No exceptions. You got to bring one poem, no musical accompaniment. And you have to be available for rehearsal on April 16th from 1 to 3. And the Spoken Word Festival is April 24th from 7 to 9:30 at the Crenshaw Mall. And it's $20 to get in. So that's it. And all that information is on the flyer.
So April 24th, 7 to 9:30, Crenshaw Mall, Pan-African Film Festival.
Yep.
Paul Mabon, Mr. Allen, Mr. Downsizing. We didn't get to talk about the video, which I thought was amazing. I loved it.
That's another opportunity. I had no idea it was going to be that big. I was at the gym today and everybody's like, holy shit, that's the guy. And I was like, what? Oh, yeah. Vivo. That's right. That's me. So.
I don't pay attention to any of it. Thank God I have teenagers. And so they pay attention. Yeah. And so, my daughter Kavya adores you, right? And so she's like, oh, Paul, yeah. And so I handed her the phone. And she was like, Mom, what video do you have me watching? Just watch. Oh,
that's so funny.
It's Paul.
That's so funny. Well, it was great talking to you.
Glad you had some time to join me today. We will definitely promote those things and look forward to April when we get to know some more about those characters.
Awesome. I can't wait.
Enjoy the Clippers game. And thank you.
I sure will. All right.
All right. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.
Bye.